The power of the most electrifying man in StarCraft 2 history cannot be denied as the Finnish Phenom looks to claim his 6th WCS title in true fashion. However, his opponent stepping into the gladiatorial arena in Reina is hungry, feisty, and eager as to get his revenge, not only from a WCS circuit final, but also to claim his first ever WCS championship here on the true offline circuit. Joining me to my left-hand side, Fear Dragon and Rotterdam. It is grand finals time. It is time for our best of 7 to come to full fruition. Best of 7 here between our two Zergs. Two big names that I'm so happy we have in the final.
No one can complain about these two players making it to this point. This is the two-player matchup, Serral versus Raynor, that even the most stout ZVZ haters love watching.
Sure.
Serral versus Raynor. This is what really makes ZVZ shine.
It's extra special, of course, because Raynor is that one player that prevented Serral from winning Winter.
Yep.
He beat him in the group stage 2-0, and he beat him in that grand final 4-3 as well. So there is that history. On top of that, there is that other storyline where Raynor has still never lost to anyone in any of these WCS events other than Serral.
Yes.
So these are the two best. There's no other way to put it. One guy only loses to Serral, and Serral wins everything. So yeah, this is kind of the final that if you really had to predict the final, this would have been your safe pick.
Yeah, very much safe indeed. For the most part, throughout 2018 into 2019, apart from a few spats here or there, Serral has looked invincible apart from two people like Reina. Reina has been able to expose weakness in the past, and in this best of 7 could potentially again, although even that, to some people, to some pundits, is a little bit of a long shot.
Absolutely. I think there's that history there. The fascinating thing is that actually if you look at Serral's run through this tournament today, and I mean, of course, the past couple of days, he has dropped a map to almost every single player he has played outside of sort of Hellraiser, Denver, Neeb, Showtime, all taking one map off of him. Is that telling of anything? I'm not so sure, but I think, for example, a lot of people were surprised when Denver took a map. And I know, Roddy, you were watching that, and he almost actually managed to take 2 maps off of Serral.
Yeah, he was so incredibly close, and I was getting a bit scared there for Serral. I was like, oh my goodness, if you're up 2-0 and then suddenly it's 2-2, that's where things can really spiral out of control. On the other hand, I don't want to make that bigger than it is either, because normally we hype up and we celebrate everybody for making it to a grand final.
Yes.
And with Serral, we're like, he dropped maps, guys. Like, I mean, like, is that really fair from us? I mean, yeah, okay, we got to work with something. What I'm most interested about is the approach that Raynor has for this grand final. If I go back to Valencia, the very first time Raynor was able to play a WCS event, because when he just turned 16, I really had the feeling that Raynor went into that series, because back then he said, I want to play Serral. And, well, be careful what you wish for, because you will get it in WCS.
Sure. Yeah.
And I had the feeling that back then he was like, I'm gonna outplay Serral, and that didn't work out. He lost 0-3 very decisively.
Sure.
But then in Winter, I really feel like he had the approach of, I'm gonna do my own crazy stuff. In that group stage, we had that memorable Ling Lurker game, believe it or not, guys, that happened. But then he also beat him in the grand final with that crazy all-in. And in general, I think he had a lot of success with doing different stuff than Serral. And it always felt like Scarlet had success with that in the past against Serral as well, even though he maybe didn't win the entire best of 5.
Yeah.
He was very close to doing so. And I feel it's very important for Raynor to not have the approach of like, I'm gonna do the exact same thing as Serral, but I'm gonna do it better. Because nobody does it better. That has been proven time and time again. But he is beatable. Raynor has shown that he's beatable. Other Zergs got very close and sometimes did manage to defeat Serral as well. But in general, try to do things a little bit different.
Sure.
Try to keep him honest, try to keep him on his toes, and don't mirror him. Because mirroring is in general the wrong approach.
Fear Dragon?
I think that there is one other really, really important thing that you have to have. It is so key if you ever want to take down Serral. You have to be prepared to face off against the most clutch player that we have in StarCraft. Serral, time and time again, has been taken to the edge versus Scarlet, versus Raynor himself, versus a bunch of players, taken to the final games and to the final little points, and even been behind in those last games.
Yeah.
And then he pulls it back. you have to have an amazingly strong mentality. You have to make sure so you don't give Serral those opportunities to come back in the games, because that is what Serral, I think, does better than almost anyone else in this lineup.
Definitely so, and he's proved it, as you mentioned, time and time again. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It is almost time here to get into our grand final as a whole. Reynor, in his previous interview, called out that he wanted Serral, and Serral is very happy to oblige. It's time for our grand final here. Best of 7. Let's head over to the stage.
Kyiv, it is time. After 3 days of non-stop StarCraft 2 action, it's time to find out which player will be lifting this trophy. For this grand finals, it is the ultimate grudge match, as our young Italian Zerg faces the sole player responsible for every WCS elimination. Can he finally get revenge and prevent a potential 6th WCS title and win his very first? Please welcome your grand finalists. It is Serral and Reynor!
Yeah.
That's right, guys. We are about to begin the grand finale for WCS Summer. Reynor and Serral facing off yet again in another grand final. It happened in Montreal, it happened in winter. Different results from different tournaments. And Serral keeps coming out on top in their series back-to-back.
These two, they are destined to play one another time and time again, and this is building up to be one of the greatest rivalries we've ever had in European StarCraft history.
It actually has. These guys have been so closely matched in a lot of their games. Sometimes, you know, some of Reynor's wins have been when he sort of found a cool new strategy that Serral's not quite prepared for. And when he gets to play his style, I mean, Fear Dragon really nailed it at the desk. If you want to go punch for Serral, if you want to take it to the late game, if you want to do that Roach Headbutt ZVZ style, you are going to be making a big mistake, my friend. Serral, his bread and butter is that style. ZVZ has been a matchup that he's been absolutely incredible in. It was one of his stepping stones on his way into, of course, becoming the world finalist when he beat Rogue in one of the greatest CVZs I've ever seen on the stage there in Anaheim. I mean, Serral's mastery of the matchup is really just inarguable.
He almost single-handedly redefined the matchup in the way that it was played, showed us how to tech up to Lurkers, how to actually use Vipers. His control late game is something to dream about, but Reynor, he's been very capable of tricking Serral, making the game very, very different and difficult. And what will he be able to throw at him this time? These guys, they've duked it out a lot.
That's right, and a lot of their series have been quite close as well. The only time that's sort of been a mark on the record of one being a little bit one-sided was quite recently, actually, in spring, where Serral managed to get the 3-0 bop on Reynor there. I would be extremely surprised if this was a 4-0, though. I think that Reynor's coming in with some tricks up his sleeve, and Serral as well. I think that this is going to be a fun one, Ben. I'm really excited to get started.
Oh, me too. Both the players also very, very confident. Backstage, people were joking about his answers, saying like, oh, Reynor's very eager to play against you. And he said on the stage, like, is he kind of thing? I've owned that guy so many times. Like, but Reynor, he's definitely a scary dude. Like, if Serral had a list of players that he's obviously going to be worrying about playing, Reynor's got to be top of that list by now.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to think of. There's not a long list of people out there that can take Serral in a ZVZ. Reynor absolutely is one of them. He's proven it before. He has to prove it again on stage in front of all of us here, us commentators, all the fans out there in the Cybersports arena, which has been packed with passion lords and all you guys out there in chat land who have been watching all weekend long. 3 days of StarCraft action, back to back to back. And we are in game number 1 for our final series of WCS Summer. Ladies and gentlemen, the top left here, the Italian Zerg in the blue. From Gamers Origin and Red Bull, this is Reynor! And in the bottom right, our God King. He's won the World Final. He is the World Champion, the 5-time WCS Champion, looking for his 6th title. This is ZC Sports' Serral.
God King, hey, no longer a Night King. That guy died. This
The
guy
Night King
didn't.
is a beta.
This
all right?
guy did not die.
The Night King sucks, dude. Did you see what happened to him in Season 7? The Night King sucks. Serral wouldn't die.
By the way, it is so cool that both these guys, regardless of what opposition they come up against, they still continue to meet in the finals. There's other players that have been destined to meet Serral in the finals. Serral's always lived up to the occasion. People might think about Maru, you know, like he never actually got to meet him in the final, but
Right.
Raynor, he's the guy that is stomping the rest of the competition. Big Gabe, he was looking incredible. He was taking out people 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. Goes up against Raynor, and that was an end to that run. As Rotterdam said a lot of times, there's only been one guy stopping him from taking out a WCS, and now going up against that Titan in the final. This is going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Pretty mirrored builds here. Very safe openings from both players. The gentleman's agreement, as I like to call it in ZVZ, when you go hatch, gas, ball, and you just play on from there. Acropolis is one of those maps where the third base is really where you start to get vulnerable. Attacking into the natural is a little bit tough. And we do see that Serral's going to be the first guy to squeeze out a couple lings here. Reina still going for the drones.
Acropolis is a very large map, one of the largest in the pool, so we might see a lot more safer play from both of these guys, or when I say safe, taking the third, not doing anything too Larry, like any two-base roach timings or anything like that. Maybe Mutas could be absolutely utilized, and in case of that, Niduses could definitely be used to counteract, but we'll see what they're doing. Serral playing very safe here, going for the two lings to get a bit of a scout on, but as you see, mirroring down to a T here.
Yeah, that 230 hatchery going down on clockwork here for both players. You could set your watch to it. And there's two lings coming across the map to have a little bit of a poke here for Serral, and this is just for scouting. You would love to get up and see that Baneling nest, or rather the Baneling nest of Reina here as he drops his own back on his side of the map.
And one of the things that like Reina likes to do against Serral when he plays against him is he will try and trick him. He'll throw up like two Evos in the wall and like a Roach Warren, and then not use any of them at all and just go full gung-ho, just launch Serral into a world of destruction. So I'm really wondering, I'm very curious about what Reynor's going to do to try and puzzle him, because the thing is, Serral scouts better than anyone. So trying to trick this man, the fact that he's done it once and twice before, how does he keep on doing it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a long list of things that make Serral great, and one of them is certainly his ability to just constantly scout. His lings, I don't know, maybe they're covered in butter or lard or something, but they managed to just slip past every queen and every hold position roach that I've seen and get into the main base and see the timings of your lairs or your hives or your extra tech being hidden away that you think's hidden away, but you can't hide from Serral.
Absolutely not.
Speaking of which,
Raynor
doesn't make it through.
Right.
Not slippery enough.
No, Reynor's lings, they're not going to get in there, but it was a good attempt. He did get to see quite a bit there, got to see a good number of lings, but here, look.
See?
You
That's what I'm
just
talking
mentioned
about.
it. You just
That's what I'm
mentioned
talking
it.
about.
How
You
do
can't
they
stop
get
him.
in?
Just let it happen. Just get scouted.
So right now, they're both trying to figure out what the other one's doing. ZVZ can be extremely volatile. Lots of lings and banelings can be thrown your way. Now, this is one of the larger maps, so it is less likely, but we have a very early lair by Serral, +1 range starting for both these players. This looks like it's going to be aiming for a bit of a roach war here.
Yep, certainly. There's slightly faster lair for Serral, but Reina not too far away from getting his own, I suppose. So, I mean, that's the most important thing here is to be able to get those roaches as mobile as possible if you want to get across the map, of course. But it might be Reina on the defensive here, maybe Serral looking to get that speed and try and push the third of the Reina. He's coming in for a ling. He's just constantly scouting again. Reina trying to do the same on the other side of the map. He's got a handful of lings heading towards the third base of Serral. Serral looking to meet him toe-to-toe, though.
Yeah, just counting drones at this point, just making sure that nothing funny is going on from the little Italian on the other side of the map. Lots of gases being thrown down. These guys are just mirroring each other so much. Look at the roach timings, the drones. The drone dance is so important in this matchup. Knowing how far you can go, and both of them, look, both scouting each other. Very, very adamant about it.
Now we're on the Reina cam here. Bodying his lings away from the Serral sort of defenses here. Reina's actually taken all 6 of his gases as well. Quite a bit of gas income for the build that he's doing right now. And considering we haven't seen that many roaches yet, he is still spending a couple hundred gas on +1 attack on Overlord speed as well. And Serral, he's going to be the first one to drop the worm from down under in this grand final.
Yeah, and he stopped droning entirely. 54 workers against 67. Raynor, at this point, to play perfectly, he can't make another drone. He just has to irk out units as much as he can. Serral just trying to scout around, get a little grip of what's going on, and he's just powering down on units here. This is going to be a massive committal by Serral.
Yeah, going for a big attack here. Reina heading towards the fourth base, but I doubt we'll see a fourth for a while here from Serral. Gets that Roach count up. The Nidus is about to be complete. And are these Lings going to give him that spot vision? He actually has a lovely positioned Overlord to the right of the main of Reina. Reina does have an Overlord offering some vision, but there is a corner of his main. Oh, that was out of vision, but Reina is moving his Overlords around to try and look out for that Nidus Worm. Serral going to put it on the front line here. Reina sees it.
Maynard, Reina's only just started Roach speed. That's actually a really big deal, meaning that his Roaches will be significantly slower. Also just starting +2. That upgrade may never come into effect, but I feel this was massive bait, but Reina, he's actually ready for the Nidus in the main too. This is really good play by him.
It certainly is, but Serral has Roach speed, so he's going to be able to get those concaves a little bit quicker. Reina doing a great job, I gotta say, with this Nidus Worm play so far, denying the Nidus Worm. Serral is still just holding that R button, resting his thumb on it, getting as many Roaches out as possible here on 54 workers. So Reina obviously has the better economy. If he can trade really well and hold on here, he's going to have a fourth base, unless Serral finds it, of course, and he's going to have a better drone count, and he can recover. Serral's not going to look to have this game go too much longer.
No, he does have a Spinecrawler here, which will help with the defense, but no Roach speed still.
Yeah, and that means that Serral's going to be able to muscle his way into a concave here. A big concave of red Roaches here for Serral. Getting his way through the static defense. The Baneling's helping out a little bit there. And now it's just straight Roach from Serral. He's up in army supply. He's pressing right into the army here of Reina. Reina does have a defender's advantage. It's not too long for him to get those Roaches on the front line. But Serral has a worm that he can reinforce from if things need to be done. And he's actually killed 12 of those drones here at the third base as well. That economic advantage that we're talking about for Reina is actually being dealt with here by Serral. He somehow managed to squeeze a Nidus into the main base. This is devastating for Reina.
Oh my god, the economy is going to get smashed from Reina. His Roaches have been slow for so long. He does go into the main, but more Roaches from Serral pop out of that Nidus, and right now he's bouncing from the third to the main and just making his life so difficult. Is he now going to go back to the main with more Roaches?
Oh, looks like he's not reinforcing just yet, but he certainly can. There's quite a few more Roaches there in that Nidus Worm. He's just trying to bully Reina out of his own main base. Serral also with another Nidus Worm on the outside. He is going to reinforce here, and if he has enough Roaches on the high ground, Reina won't be able to retake his main. That's the lair. That's everything here for Reina.
Serral is monster moding right now, not giving Reina a chance to breathe. The +2, it's never going to finish by the looks of it. 150 supply against 86, and look, he's just bouncing from side to side with so many Roaches, evacuating the main of Reina and just decimating the third.
Oh, Serral's got game one in blinding fashion here. There's way too many units. GG! Serral, the world champ, taking map number 1 here in the grand finale.
You know, it was said by a lot of Koreans at Home Story Cup that Serral is actually the best player in the world, and what he's showing right here, he knows how to kill people, and he does it so swiftly and so smoothly. This time, he was the one with the kill button, the trigger button, and he went totally trigger happy there against Raynor. But man, forgetting Roach speed, that was a huge, huge issue for Raynor. Only starting it when you start +2, crazy play.
And he already was kind of hindered a bit there by the later lair as well. So if he was going to get Roach speed right on the money, that it would have been a little bit later, but it certainly would have been ready for that attack. I'm with you there. Like, Roach speed is a massive advantage. Even if you're on creep and your opponent is off creep, the Roach speed will actually allow the attacking Roaches to get those concaves and pressure you right into that third. And the fact that Serral obviously had a great opportunity to amass Roaches pretty much under Reina's nose. He didn't really know about it at all until they were on his front door with a Nidus Worm popping out.
And we talk about defender's advantage, but it's no real advantage if you're popping your units out from a Nidus because they get there instantly, and your Roaches are way slower getting from your main base to your third kind of thing when they pop out.
Very good point.
Serral had every advantage in that match, and what a killer move to go for that. I think also going for the... he had 2 Evos, right? Reina did, so he's getting the +2 weapons, the +1 armor. He's also getting the 4th hatch. He had 13 extra drones in Serral. He was playing so blindly there. He didn't know what was going to hit him.
No, I certainly didn't. He's going to have to shape up a little bit for map number 2, because any mistake will absolutely be capitalized on by Serral. He is not one to allow you to make mistakes and make so few of his own. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into map number 2 between these two incredible Zergs of the European region. In the bottom right here, currently down in a series, but he more than has the skills to fight back. This is Gamers Origins, Reina! And in the top left from ENCE Esports, the Finnish Phenom as he's known, the Night King as he's known to others. To me, he is just the god of our region for StarCraft 2, of our esport in general. This is Serral.
Greatest foreigner of all time, like without shadow of a doubt.
Easily.
Like the things that he's accomplished over just the past year alone, it's insane. And the fact is, getting to the top is incredibly hard. Staying at the top is even harder. People have learned how to copy him. They know his tricks, and they try and emulate what he does. But the thing is, he just does everything better than everybody else.
He was saying in the back room with a lot of us back there when we were just relaxing between games, he was saying that he's frustrated because every time he loses, it spreads out onto the internet like a virus. That map, that replay is watched by everyone because they're just desperate to find weakness, to find a break in his armor that they can capitalize. Is there a weakness in him? They just comb over those replays to find out, and no one's kind of found it yet.
I'm sorry for giving out one of those replays, you know, like, I do love Serral. Reynor, it's a massive mountain to climb. You have to win 4 maps against this guy. He's definitely done it before, but it was incredibly hard, and he had to kind of pull out his inner baboon a little bit to try and beat him in that final game with a true trickery. I'm still waiting for what shortcuts is he going to try and take. In StarCraft 2, there's so many ways to skip the next step and get around the bush kind of thing, but trying to do that against Serral, it's so incredibly difficult.
Certainly is. I think that's one of the reasons why not only Reynor being brilliant, but also Serral being brilliant as Zerg players. They aren't just one style of player. A lot of people would say, oh, Serral is the defensive, get to the late game and outplay you when there's too many bases for you to handle, and he's just better at playing StarCraft than you are, state of the game. Serral will all-in you. We just saw it in Game 1. He will all-in you, he will cheese you, he will 12-pull, he will proxy hatch, he will do anything, and he'll outplay you in the late game.
Oh, and look at this, Maynard. Here we have a lair, a second gas starting. I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into one of those Roach Highway situations where you probably stop at around like 34, 35 drones, maybe a tiny bit more, but you set up your overlords and you just directly attack your opponent. This is something weird, and yet again from Serral, which is super cool to see.
It's a very old and very vintage road timing, but very, very powerful. It still exists. That's a lovely pick-off for Reynor, by the way.
If you want to get back into the series, that's one way to do it. Getting the Overlord is nice, especially when your opponent is going for something a bit cheeky on just 2 bases, meaning his economy is a bit tighter, doesn't want to really want to afford making these kind of mistakes.
Yeah, the Roach Warren coming down, +1 attack as well. Serral locking down that natural. And Reynor is going for the lair of his own, but obviously quite a bit later. We're very, very interested in what Serral's game plan is going to be. See, Reynor doesn't have anything on the other side of the map except for a couple Overlords, and they are not flying in. They are just basically waiting to see when that third timing is for Serral, because it's heading to that time of the map. Where's the third, Rainer's wondering? I haven't seen a third base just yet. You're on 2 base for a while. What are you doing back there?
Do you know what's super unusual? That he hasn't scouted with the Lings at all. Like, we're seeing the vision of Reynor here, and he doesn't even know what the wall consists of. At this point, I'd be scared of absolutely everything, and we do see that Serral is on his way to making Roaches +1 and Roach speed. The thing is, Reynor is in the know about there being a true lack of third.
There is, and we can see the Overlord starting to position themselves, like you said, Ben, in a bit of a highway here. So we're expecting a creep carpet, the Queens and the Roaches to come across. Reynor smells something is off here, and he's actually going for some static defense that certainly is necessary here.
Yeah, there's something definitely off, and that Spinecrawler is a big, big tell here, but the Overlord Highway is starting to come into fruition here, which is super awesome to see. Serral, he wants to teach this lad a lesson, but I really think Reynor's sniffed this out early enough, and I think he's in actually a decent position.
I agree. He has this sort of high ground position. He can fall back to the Spinecrawler if need be, but even just having this high ground and a good number of Roaches with shorter distance to your natural and third to reinforce is really nice for Reynor. Even though he is down a bit in army supply, this might actually be all right for him here. Those Queens do have a lot of energy. They can certainly turn the tides here for Serral. The engagement has begun. Reynor's got a Spinecrawler reburrowing here to join in the fight. He does have a bit of a concave here. He is pushing back those first initial waves of Serral, but he does have to reinforce. Nothing but Roaches here for both players so far.
Reynor so far has taken a really good fight. That Spinecrawler deals extra damage to Roaches, and he's holding really darn well. He didn't even commit to getting Roach speed here. He's using all his money he can on units. It's absolutely the correct move.
And this is working so far for Reynor. Serral is just trying to push forward, but he can't get it done, and he is down 9 workers here.
He's even droning.
He's droning. Mad lad.
He's so confident about holding this, and he's droning crazily too. Serral, he is backing off. He is taking a third, but he's still making Roaches.
Certainly is. You see that Reynor knows about the third as well. The Roach is just looking for an angle here. Serral's put so much money into those Roaches, and he hates that they haven't done the damage that he wants for them yet, so he's trying to put them to work, but Reynor all over this like a rash. He is stopping Serral from getting that third. He stopped him from getting into the natural, and Reina remains ahead here in this game. A great start for Reina.
You know, to say that he had so much lack of information, all it took was one little whiff of something being a little bit off there. Putting up the spine was great. Not using money on upgrades that were not going to apply to the rest of the game if you don't survive right there and then. I loved a lot of Reina's decision making.
And now he's ahead in upgrades. He's ahead in economy by quite a large margin. He's had that third for ages. And with this +1 attack, looks like Reina's going to come across the map here. +2 on the way for him. Serral can't even afford it. He doesn't have the gas. He's forced to make roaches right now because Reina's coming at him.
Serral's hoping for a dream here. He's hoping that Reynor over-droned way too much. And 59 drones, that certainly is a huge number. And if he hits before roach speed finishes and +2, that's his only chance. But he does have a higher armor supply, actually, as well.
Certainly does. It's kind of hard to find an angle here for Serral. He doesn't have corrosive biles or that micro potential to take a good fight here. It's just roach against roach. And the guy with more roaches and the shorter rush distance usually is going to win. That Spinecrawler coming in to help out Reina again. And he's also dropping biles here on Serral, forcing him to miss micro his roaches, or rather just micro his roaches, which means they're not fighting as they're moving out of that bile range. Reina takes a convincing fight right here, Ben. And GG, we're tied up 1 apiece.
These guys are made for each other. They are made to tango. Serral's the guy that's opting for being very aggressive, and this build, I've seen it work a lot, but Reynor handled that beautifully. The spine crawler, again, I can't express enough how much I enjoyed Reynor's decision making and making sure that he held that at all costs.
Really, really great stuff from both players. They're so high level. It actually is so sick. What a great final we've got for us here. The decision making from both players pretty on point. Serral's game planned. He said to me in the back room after he finished his series against Showtime, he's just, I like to have a plan, and I always stick to it.
I mean, if that was his plan after being 1-0 up, I don't dislike it, even though it didn't work. It's nice to throw something a bit crazy at your opponent. And I mean, if it did work, that would have been an easy 2-0, and he would have looked like a genius, right? It's just Reynor knew exactly how to hold that. Now, Serral, he can go back to the drawing board a little bit and be like, okay, I'm going to resort maybe back to the macro game, get myself sorted out. I scout better than anybody. Maybe I'll just play a bit of a longer game and not resort to these kind of rushes against this guy because he holds them pretty darn good.
Serral's been very aggressive. When we think about the amount of series we've seen Serral being aggressive in, he's actually been quite aggressive in a lot of his series today.
Oh, yeah. Like, I actually think it's super cool that Serral as a player, like, we've had real great Zergs. I'll name some of the Europeans. We've had, like, the Snooks of the world that are very, very static in the way that they play. But Serral, he does it all, man. He defends well, he attacks well, and he does it all.
And the top right here, winning map number 2 with a great read on his opponent. Looking to try and get the map advantage. The Italian Zerg in the blue. This is Gamer Origins Reina. It's amazing what he's accomplished at just 17 years of age. He's got a rich career ahead of him. And this guy's already had a pretty balling career. $500,000 last year just about. From Finland, from NC Sports, the world rating champion. This is Serral.
I love watching these guys duke it out, man. Like, this is some of the best and most high-level ZVZ that you'll ever imagine. And the thing is, ZVZ, it's evolved so much since just the Roach days where they're headbutting each other, you know, like, there is so much to it. There's Mutas, there's Niduses, Vipers and Lurkers can come into the mix too, maybe even just crazy Ling Baneling stuff. I've even seen Ultras come into the mix, Maynard.
It's always a bit weird when you see Ultras get thrown in the mix because the guy that already has the big wall of roaches is just like, okay, and then kites them. But, you know, Anabolic Synthesis sometimes could throw into the mix. We might be seeing them in the future, but I doubt we'll see them in this series. If we do, then boy, that'd be a good time, but it would be weird. And you speak about the Lurker, that was actually the unit comp where Reina sort of caught Serral unawares in the WCS Winter Finals, I think, where he showed him that Ling Lurker style.
There was some Ling Lurker stuff, yeah.
Which we haven't seen a whole lot of that since then, but it certainly worked very well when Reina used it against Serral.
You know, some strategies are good, but some strategies aren't meant to stick around, you know, like, that's one of the cool things. But we'll see what happens, because I've been thinking that Reynor's the guy that needs to kind of like bamboozle Serral a little bit, but if these games are anything to go by so far, Serral's the one that seems to be wanting to bamboozle Reynor.
Yeah, he's been very tricky and very aggressive here, and Reina's sort of been on the receiving end. I mean, game 1 he didn't hold, and in game 2 he did.
Yeah, that's
pretty much.
That's a really good description of what's
I'm
happened
a
so
great
far,
analyst,
Maynard.
man. I'm a great analyst. People think I can only play by play, but I've also got the analysm skills.
And so on New Repugnancy, right? Like this is a much smaller map than Acropolis. It's a pretty equal-sized map to Kairos. So, you know, it's not necessarily one of those maps that you really want to opt for any kind of like 2-base all-in. It's a much longer distance to get to the natural than Kairos. So we'll probably see a much different game. And yeah, we're seeing that already. And they're again mirroring one another. Reynor kind of chooses to skip out on the like Zerglings very super early on, but he is going for the Baneling Nest and he is getting the Zerglings this time.
Yeah, gets an extra drone as a result usually. But this is sort of, when ZVZ is played super standard, this is generally the case where the Baneling Nest is made at a certain normal time, and then you get that the third base on location.
What are these guys?
Hiding a couple of lings here. What's he looking to do here? Surely this is his scouting pair of lings, and he's just waiting for speed.
What? Yeah, I think that must be it, right? Like, just kind of playing about with them, just making sure that they're not getting scouted by any overlords and stuff. And they're both making quite a few links here. 8 for Reynor so far, 14 for Serral. We might see some little knife fight action from both of them.
I think so. Our caster brother Pig calls it a knife fight in a phone booth, and I think it's about to happen. Some Ling-Bane wars here.
That's a scary image, actually, just thinking about the phone booth fighting. Okay, so the Overlord's getting deflected a little bit. Reynor's playing safe. He's morphing Banelings in at home, and there are quite a lot of Lings marching across the map for Serral. So let's see how they both duke out. Serral's got some of the best Ling Bane micro that you'll ever see.
Reynor comes forward with that Baneling, looking for that cluster of Lings. Serral does not take that hit from the Baneling just yet, keeping his Banelings alive against Reynor's Lings as well. Both players trying to pick off and trade as well as possible in the early stage of the game. Serral is also getting an Evo behind this. Reynor already has one, and he's starting +1 range, so he wants to get into Roach's transition out of this. Serral's actually got the same plan.
Both of these guys feeling confident enough to drone up behind this. Look at this. Keeping those Banelings alive. Reynor just kind of marching them back and just being very safe. Neither one of them's looking to like super dominate at this point in time. It's almost like being aggressive to be safe.
It's like they're doing a face check here. They're just saying, okay, how's your defense against the Ling Bane? All right, it's pretty good. Pulling out of the strategy, going for plan B.
Serral does get a Ling into the main, but doesn't really get to spot much. Just gets to make a few Lings stay back at home. If we look at the work accounts of both players, they're just staying very close, almost neck and neck in the drone counts here.
And Roaches will be on the cards. Serral once again with the faster lair in this game. But that doesn't always mean anything. Of course, that it looked very, very similar to Acropolis, except for you cut out the Ling Bane part of it.
And 3 gases all at the same time. Starting Overlord speed. This is Reynor's Ling getting a bit of scouting. Gets to see that the extra gases are up at the third base. Now, that isn't like truly telling of there being like 6 gases for sure, because often Zergs will take the gases on the peripheral bases just to make their opponent a bit unaware. Well, they'll kind of skip a gas maybe in the natural or the main or so.
Both players going for Overlord speed here. A couple Lings getting rid of one of those Banelings there of Reynor. And both players haven't really been able to crack the main as far as scouting goes, but obviously when Overlord speed's done, you can't really stop that Overseer from flying through and seeing everything. So they're going to be able to keep each other honest shortly enough, and that minimap is already starting to just get covered in Overlords. It's very hard to get run-bys from the mid-game onwards in ZVZ.
Reynor's actually starting to make like a few extra Lings here, and even getting a Spine Crawler. He isn't that far behind in workers. In fact, they're both very close in that regard, but a bit of an unusual choice, I feel. Like, what's he choosing to do with these Lings? I guess we'll see.
Well, he's going to get on top of that 4th hatchery attempt here of Serral. And that's quite low in hit points, so I think he might be able to get a cancel here, which is a nice move from Reynor. Oh, no, he's on A move, not target firing, so that hatchery's actually going to get up.
So a few more Lings were coming there. Maybe if he kept all of them alive, he could have got that cancel. Reynor does start +2 immediately, but Serral, he's no slouch, and he's not far behind, also getting the +1 armor. So if things kind of steady out and no damage is done, then Serral might be able to eke a slight upgrade advantage here.
Overlord, or Dropper Lords being morphed here for Serral. An interesting choice of strategy here for the Finnish Zerg. He has shown that he's very, very good at hitting in several places at once with harassment units, dropping Roaches into mineral lines and then picking them up and just dropping them from main to natural to third and then bouncing around. He was one of those guys that made Roach Burrow look incredible as well, where he just seemed to always just burrow those Roaches and pop up in mineral lines everywhere at once.
I love this, by the way, just utilizing these Lings. They're not going to really get much done in the fight, but they will get a couple of drones here and just buy time, tax the APM of Reynor, and just he doesn't really want to be doing this. Losing 4 drones as well to these Lings, they've done a hell of a job.
Yeah, quite a good run by here by Serral. Oh, another drone on the way out, don't mind if I do.
Oh my gosh, 6 drones with this little ragtag group of Lings. Like, he was not hoping for half of that, I don't believe, but the fact that he does, the fact that he micros to the bitter end, crazy.
Roaches and Ravages being morphed here for Serral. Both players are getting tunneling claws. That's very exciting here. Looking forward to this.
They are mirroring each other so hard.
They
Even the
certainly
second
are.
Evo went down, the Burrow being done about the same time, and the upgrades.
Feels like Serral's been trading better so far. He does have the more army supply. He has been cutting into the work account a little bit of Reyna. But of course, that doesn't mean a whole lot as we get forward, because there could certainly be a great fight for Reyna later on in this game.
Look at the middle of the map, by the way, with all these overlords. They both know exactly where their opponent's going to be. Look at this. The Roaches getting 4 drones as well. Gets up in the overlord. He suffers no losses for this. This is the kind of stuff that Serral does. He wins the war of attrition. Wait, is there no Roach speed for Reyna? Oh no, it's only just started.
Oh my God, not again. This is a much worse blunder than game 1. He's just started Roach speed. I can't believe that he's forgotten Roach speed here in game number 3.
Oh.
Serral can just chase him down to the ends of the earth.
Look how slow they are when they're burrowed and moving
Oh
away.
my God.
That's even on creep, Maynard.
I don't think I've seen slow Roaches with tunneling claws before.
Oh, these are some detrimental mistakes by Raynor, and Serral, after seeing this kind of stuff, it's going to make him very confident against Raynor. I think Raynor's feeling the pressure here.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravages can chase them down, but the other Roaches can't really.
Look how
These
slow.
can't run. They can't run. You cannot run and you cannot hide.
Oh my gosh, this is so bad for Raynor, guys. I can't tell you. Serral right now, he's dealing damage and he's accumulating a bank and he's feeling hungry. He's marching across the map with a pretty darn good army here too.
That's just Reyna deflecting the Serral's attack in the main base, or the harassment rather. But he's going to have to micro-slow Roaches against Corrosive Vials with a Roach speed upgraded Serral with similar upgrades.
Oh!
Roach speed, forget about it! And forget about your Roach production as well! Serral attacks into the natural, and Reyna has been crippled.
Yeah, where is that Roach Warren from Raynor? He hasn't even started another one. Only just now it starts. I don't think he even realized what happened. And his Roaches, look, even on creep, he can't move as quick as Serral. This is a terrible disaster.
It's a disaster. Oh, poor Reyna, man. He does have a lot of Roaches here at that third base. He does have the numbers. He is punching through Serral's attack, but the natural is still under siege, and he's just going to tap out. Serral's done way too much damage, and we'll take the map advantage.
Oh my, talk about buckling under pressure, Maynard. That is a mistake and a half. I didn't even see it until I saw those Roaches moving across the map. They were moving so slow. But this is 2 games in a 3-game series that he's made this mistake of either not getting Roach speed or just having it way too late.
When I said that
Oh,
Serral,
yeah, look,
yeah.
he knows. He's like, oh, gosh, did everybody just watch me doing that? And it's yes, they did. But,
Yeah.
you know, he's good enough to bounce back. And, that's the kind of mistake that you beat yourself up for.
When I was talking about Serral capitalizing on mistakes, I didn't mean that big of a mistake. Like, I talked about the little ones, like, not scouting one particular area and getting hit by a run by, or not being completely on point with your multitasking. I didn't expect an incredibly important lair upgrade to be what was forgotten there for Reyna.
Yeah, the only upgrade that you can make for the only unit you're going to make, just the one to make them twice the speed kind of thing. Like, definitely a blunder. And the fact that he got the tunneling upgrade before the speed, like, he must have clicked on that building so fast and not even looked at the speed there that he hadn't upgraded.
I'm pretty sure in 9 years of StarCraft 2, this is the first game that I've seen where I actually got to see how slow Tunneling Claws Roaches are without Roach speed. I've never seen it before.
No, they were like queens.
Yeah, basically.
And then when he tried to run away at the top 2, it's like, oh my gosh, like hunting down the old people. Oh, those poor Roaches, man.
Well, obviously Reyna's going to have to tighten his belt, pull up his socks, and do a little bit better here in the next game, as Serral is ahead in maps, and Reyna's going to look to tie the series. And this is the kid in question. He's been looking so good in this tournament. There's a little bit of shaky moments here and there in the grand final, but he showed us a pretty brilliant game 2. Looking to see a brilliant game 4 from this kid. From Gamers Origin, the Italian in the top left, this is Raider.
Crucial error, but he's a great player. I'm sure he'll try and bounce back.
He's going to have to bounce back against this absolute monster in the bottom right here, with a map advantage from NC Sports, the Finnish Zerg, the world champion. This is Serral.
Now, Thunderbird will be the map of choice. This, a new map in the pool. One thing that makes it a lot different to other maps, it has the mineral walls in the center and also defending the third bases, which is super cool. And for the time being, until you remove those minerals by the third, there is only one path to all 3 of your starting bases, which makes it a very nice defensive map for both of these races.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. Like, the single ramp, like you mentioned, quite easy to defend once you've got that creep spread, once you've got your third and the queens are out and you have your lings just chilling there. It's tough to get past and get those run-bys happening. Of course, both players have had some pretty nice run-bys in this series so far, but this map's a little bit tougher.
One thing we don't tend to see too much on Thunderbird, for that reason there being only one ramp into all 3 of your bases, is there's not that much Ling Baneling pressure. Main reason is you don't have vision at the top of that ramp, so you run into the unknown. If you have lots of Lings and you run up there and it's like one Baneling takes you out, it's very, very dicey. So a lot of that stage of the game tends to be skipped more often than not, and we just get a full-blown macro game in ZVZ.
Yeah, it is difficult, but Overlords can help you out there, but then the queens just shoot them back. Can be very, very careful. Let's get our first couple Lings coming out for Serral again. And Reina once again showing us that he preferred a few more drones, heading towards that third base first.
I wonder if that's a choice that he makes purely against Serral, because he feels like he needs to eke out every little advantage he can.
Perhaps.
Because if I saw Reina against somebody else, I'm sure as hell that I'd see him being the one scouting and being like, yeah, I just need to know what you're doing to be ahead in this game. But against Serral, every advantage matters.
Yeah. At this high level of StarCraft, an extra drone, an extra handful of units can make all the difference. An extra second here, an extra second there. Let's go on Overlord hunting.
Oh, Serral. Okay, I thought he was maybe sleeping on it a little bit. This Overlord is definitely most likely going to fall unless these queens can be stopped, but no, they won't be. So Raynor starting off this game in a good way here.
Yeah, getting that Overlord there, supply blocking Serral for now. He does have another Overlord in the way, and he gets into the main base with the Ling, so knows that Reyna's not up to anything cheeky here in the early stages of the game.
Definitely an odd mistake by Serral to be making when he loses these Overlords to Reina, especially when he's done that earlier in the series already. But, you know, it's not game costing, but it's definitely a nuisance, as you can see.
Yeah, nice little edge there. Returning to the main base to make sure he's not sleeking a lair on him or an extra gas.
Oh! Return of fire.
Yeah. Tit for tat here.
Eye for an eye, and Serral, he kind of strikes back there, killing an Overlord, and the crowd likes it. The crowd do like it.
The crowd did clap for a killed Overlord. That is true. That just happened here.
Besides that, though, they're absolutely mirroring each other once again. Just both droning up like madman, getting an Evo, both of them are, which will probably be for +1 range. And you see this, like the Banelings at the top of the ramp, the Lings. It doesn't look like there's going to be any signs of aggression from both these players. So they're both playing the map how it should be played.
He's got the one Baneling denying those Lings in the high ground. It is, I mean, this is sort of an example of the kind of map that you don't want to run up the ramp of, because those Banelings can just roll up there. I remember Special trying to go up the ramp with those Banelings just rolling right into his units from Reina. So it's got to be so careful. There's the lair first again from Serral. This feels like deja vu here. This time a little bit closer in lair timing.
Ooh, yeah, this time they're doing the same dance, Maynard, which is super cool to see. Because until this moment, there was always kind of like a little bit of a deviation, right? Like Serral get like the speed faster, or just get the speed and Reina wouldn't. But also, the way that they got the upgrades and stuff, like Serral was getting +1 armor a little bit faster and such. But here, Overlord speed does start, so that means that he's going to get the scouting game going.
Serral's taking every single one of his gases here, and so is Reina, and there's that Overlord speed for both players. This really just seems so mirrored.
Yeah, they're like, if there is a best way to play ZVZ, these guys will know. So the fact that they're mirroring each other exactly, it just shows you this is how you should be playing. By the way, that was a really nice split off with that one Ling. Doesn't quite get in, but it was a nice dodge, because like those Banelings were ready to take out those Zerglings.
Certainly were, and Reina breaking off these Lings here to see if the fourth base of Serral's being attempted. And at the moment, it looks like Reina is going to be the one to take the fourth first.
Oh, I saw his eyes go over that Roach War, and he did start his speed immediately. No failing on that one this time.
I feel like that's a mistake he's not going to make again.
Ever.
Been kicking himself for that game 3.
Ooh, I do love the fact that Serral is one of the players also that always kind of uses his Overlords. Once he gets Overlord speed, he's like, hey, making this a transport Overlord for 25-25? Why not? It's pretty darn useful.
Reina likewise sending that speed overseer through the main base of Serral. Going to see the lair, going to see the gas saturation, the drone count, everything that he needs to see, and the evolution chamber count as well, which is also important. Whether you're double upgrading or single upgrading, That's actually an important difference.
Yeah, look at them also. Like +2 starts around the same time, +1 armor starts around the same time. This is all so beautiful to see. Overlords are everywhere on the map too, just on little patrol paths too, both of them, just making them so much harder to bile. Every single Overlord, they're both so good, Maynard.
The mini-map is actually just like, it's like a pulsating blob.
It's
like
alive.
Everything's moving. It looks like everything's alive there. Oh, man. Well, we are done droning here for the most part for both players. It's time to create units. More Overlords on the way here for Reina as he starts to max towards those roaches. Serral, likewise, getting those roaches producing for him to get his army out on the field. Their economies are sitting strong. Neither player really doing any harassment in this game. No poking, no checking the defenses. It's just been relying on Overseer scouting. Serral does have this Dropper Lord with a few Banelings within, but hasn't been able to find too much damage.
The Banelings, wow, you kind of mix it up because the game prior he was doing it with roaches, and that's more what I'm used to seeing Serral do. But those Banelings, if they connect, they will deal serious damage. But Raynor knows about it now, which is a pretty big deal.
Certainly. The Overseer of Serral returning for a bit of a scout here. Reina doing the same thing down at third base of Serral.
Where's he going to go for? Oh, he actually reveals the Banelings now too.
All right, he's going for the drones here on that mineral line. They're getting very close. He actually gets 6 there for those Banelings. It's not bad.
Equalize the drone count. So yeah, very good, because until that point, Raynor was mining a little bit more than him this whole time.
Yes, indeedy. There's a bit of a supply block there for Reina, but he's fixed it up with those Overlords popping on out.
Ooh, I just saw an infestation pit on the way for Serral, so he's looking to continue the tech, which is very awesome to see, because he is one of the guys that can control Lurkers, Vipers super well. I can't remember what map it was between these two guys, but I remember Raynor had Serral on the brink of death, being 3-2 up in a final, and Serral managed to claw his way back just with really good late game usage. And an infestation pit on the way for Raynor too. This is going all the way, boys.
Yeah, +2 armor a little bit quicker here for Serral. So this is where they're going to head towards Hive and I guess start to get those Viper counts up. And the Vipers are sort of the MVP unit for Serral in a lot of those big, high caliber ZVZs who's been showing on the biggest stages in the world. There's that Hive first for Serral. Reina's a little bit behind in that infestation pit, but both players really respecting each other, just too afraid to attack, too afraid to poke. The only one that's gone across the map's been Serral with those 4 Banelings.
Is it about being afraid, though, or is it just about respecting your opponent, knowing that they are super damn good, and just making sure that, hey, if I get everything prepared as I want it and I don't take damage, because this is a really hard map to attack on those like initial 3 bases, and like where do you choose to attack? Because both the armies, they're just sitting at their 4th bases, so if you do choose to attack, you're just fighting against a player with a stronger reinforcement advantage.
Very good point, Ben, but I prefer personally to make really bold and possibly incorrect calls.
It's all right, Maynard. I do it all the time too. But one thing that's kind of cool, so Raynor does have Tunneling Claws a little bit faster. Serral does start it now, and Hive is on the way for both these guys. They're starting with the static defense game here. So once you're maxed out, what do? You can build up a bank, for sure. But getting some static defense to deal with these tunneling roaches and these counterattacks that will be everywhere is definitely a necessity.
I'm amazed that Reina is allowing Serral to do this because he feels like he actually is the best player in the world at this particular style of ZVZ. When you're relying on the tier 3 units, the Lurkers, the run-bys, the Burrowed Roach, the Tunneling Claws, harassment. Serral having a big concave here, dodging all the biles. And both players disengage for now. Serral trying to go for a run-by on the top side. So Reina's meeting to engage him here. He's got 2 battles going on here. A bit of a scuffle, but Serral with the advantage units to the north.
Yeah, and he's pouncing on it. Takes out a few roaches there. And Raynor, he backs off with the South Army, which may have been a bigger army there. Dodging every bile. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Serral, he's looking to be aggressive here, and it's not working out on the south side. Raynor pounces back.
The battle to the south goes in Reina's favor. Serral punches through the north, but actually pulls back with all of his army at the moment. Going back to the edge of that creep. The Lurker Den a few seconds away from being done. It's 3/4 the way done here for Serral. He does actually manage to squeeze some roaches through the defensive net of Reina, and he's on top of that hatchery. Reina pulling back to try and save it. It looks like he may just be able to.
And both have got Lurker Dens on the way. Serral's being much faster here. He's also getting the Hydralisk upgrades, and Hydra's onto the field already, but he is getting behind Raynor here, taking out some valuable roaches and some Ravagers.
And dodging the biles once again, getting some great trades there against Reina, going straight into Adaptive Talent, so the Lurker Tech is certainly going to be coming here very soon for Serral. He's got 3/3 on the way for his units. Reina hasn't started +3 Carapace just yet. But the +3 attack's a little bit further along for Serral as well. And +3 attack takes so long to finish that it's actually quite a bit of an advantage here for Serral.
Ooh, one Hydra to this fall, but Reyna's got himself into a nice position, takes out that drone line, marching over to that base here. So nice moves by Reyna, and he is ahead in bank quite significantly here.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, the economy of Reyna is quite good, and he can definitely replenish his army quite fast as well. And see the first 4 Vipers coming out here for Serral, so he's going to have the more complex army as they all pop out.
He is making Lurkers as well, and he's got Adaptive Talons well more on the way here, which means Lurkers will move faster, but also burrow and unburrow incredibly fast. And Raynor, after he got shot by those spines, he was like, hell no, I've got to get out of here.
And no, thank you. It's like Reyna might have the Roach advantage here, but it actually looks very, very similar. Probably the same Roach count for both players, same upgrades at the moment, although +3, as I mentioned. A little bit further along for Serral, he will have a window where his Roaches are better. Great catch here from Reyna. Attempted burrow run by here for Serral, getting caught and punished.
Yeah, these Roaches, if left unattended, would have reaped havoc on this base, which is already low and on fire thanks to those mech skins.
Certainly.
Both
Hydras for both players. Plenty of DPS in that back line. If you manage to have Hydras in the fight, they actually make a massive difference.
Both players have pretty much ended up in the exact same spot. They just went about it in different ways. Reyna went for the early econ advantage, which still kind of shines through here, and you can see that in his bank, whereas Serral went for the faster tech option, maybe a little bit safer.
Yeah, he's got more of his gas units. Oh, Serral getting caught a little bit here. An uncharacteristic mistake as he moved commands through a lot of Reyna's units, losing quite a few of them there.
Certainly, and these Lurkers, they are doing their job.
Yoink.
And whoa! That's the Viper micro that we talked about, Maynard.
Yeah,
Very good.
Those losses that he just suffered at Reyna's hands, he did a similar amount of damage just there with those Viper yoinks, the abducts.
A big Roach hit squad at the top there, not allowed to deal damage, but this single Roach just picking off a few drones here and there. Oh, and Serral, he's getting feisty.
He's pushing forward with those Lurkers. He can actually chase because he has that Adaptive Talent upgrade. I don't think that Reyna has it at all. So that's a big advantage. Oh, grabs a Viper. It looks like 1 Viper each here. Oh, no, that one survives for Reyna. This is so funny when we see Vipers abduct each other.
I want you. No, I'll have you.
Oh, man. Well, it looks like the defensive line of Reyna is just too strong. He's up in army supply, and there's no way Serral's going to throw his army away like that. What? How did his hatchery get so low?
Absorbing it with the Vipers and such.
Really?
It has to be, right?
Yeah,
I mean, even that
extractor as well burning.
It's so hard to engage and keep on engaging with the Vipers because your opponent can keep on eating his own buildings, whereas you have no buildings to eat if you're on the aggressive. So Serral did have to back off there and regain all the energy on his Vipers to stand a chance.
And the Lurkers do repossession themselves here. The yoinks on the Vipers again. Great moves from Reyna. He's actually taking a really good fight here so far. Of course, the Lurker advantage is here for Serral, so he is going to start getting some splash damage on him if he gets too deep. Serral getting on top of that hurt hatchery here with a lot of Roaches.
They're both doing this in the same way. They're both attacking each other's fifth here. Serral, though, he's going kind of uncontested beside the Spine Crawlers, so both the fifths will fall by the looks of it.
Serral gets that 5th base and is able to save those Roaches as well. Now, both players taking that damage from each other. These Roaches still actually catching a little bit more damage here. If he had an Overseer, that'd be lovely to kill some of these drones as well. As Reyna actually had that econ advantage, it's been taken away from him here with Serral's damage on that base.
Look how their armies have pretty much like transitioned to purely Hydra Lurker at this point. Like Roaches, they just don't survive at all. Oh, wow. That's a big cancelled morph in there, and he lost 25% of the resources, which definitely not good on that amount of Lurkers.
Well, certainly not. We've got a dozen of them being morphed here for Reyna. Serral sees it with his Speed Overlord patrolling here on the high ground. Repositioning his army, ready to engage Reyna if he does come in. Looks like that Lurker advantage that Serral has been taken away from him. Reyna has a lot more splash damage here. The underground Zerg siege tank heading forward.
Reyna is also down to 48 workers, so this army is massive. That is so many Lurkers, so many Hydras, and he's got quite a few full energy Vipers, but ooh, Serral is looking to be on the aggressive, and if he can get some Lurkers in nice positions here, this could be very dicey.
Grabs a full energy Viper there. Nice catch from Serral. Blinding Cloud as well to make sure that the Hydras can't engage and pull his Vipers to doom, but oh, more yoinks here. Grabbing a few Lurkers.
Oh, and some picture-in-picture here. The Roaches are taking over the main base of Raynor, and he's on the attack. He's taking out a 5th, but that is not as valuable as taking out a main base here, I don't feel.
If Serral gets the Hive, that's no more Vipers here for Reyna, and then Serral can start to win in the Spellcaster War.
And he will do that. Look at how efficient Serral has been. He's got a big bank still left.
Oh,
Nidus in the
wow.
third base as well. Reynor's economy is being ripped apart.
The decision-making from Serral, holding that fourth base while decimating all the tech here of Reynor, getting rid of the Hydra Den. The Hive next on the menu, and there it goes. That last round of Hydras, it for Reynor. No more Vipers either. He's able to still make Lurkers, though.
What does the resources loss tab look like at this? Okay, look at that. They both have the same race. They both have the same units, but Serral somehow just trading twice as cost efficiently almost. This is incredible play.
Damn, that's advantage Serral right there. And Reynor does have the army supply advantage, but his worker count, his economy, really suffering now. He doesn't have a bank anymore, but Serral absolutely does. He can afford to lose units. He can replenish. Reynor absolutely cannot. Looks like they're engaging here in the middle of the map as the Roaches of Serral run past these Lurkers. He grabs those Vipers, and keep in mind that Reynor cannot replenish these Vipers, and they're so important.
That's an amazing point, Maynard. He can't make any more Vipers. He's down to 2. And he did kill quite a few Vipers of Serral, but the thing is, Serral can replenish. Serral's got a bank. He's still got 50 workers. He's in great shape. Reynor, he's bleeding out. He has to make something happen.
He certainly does. And he is here with 40 more army supply than Serral. Can this be his moment? He needs to make something happen now. The longer this game goes, the better it is for the Finnish Zerg.
Ooh, catches a Viper and we'll
Nice
get
catch.
this base. Yeah, this has been like a gas base for Serral, and it's been working very well. So picking this off is decent. Also engaging this base with just a
Very
group
nice.
of Lurkers. Yeah,
Very nice from Reynor. Getting a couple hatcheries like this really does cripple the economy of Serral, but it is still better. His income is better. His bank is better. He has more lava as well.
it's so hard to engage this army, Maynard. You see, he's just taking advantage of every moment that Reynor sleeps a little bit. Reynor's moving in, but he's getting blinding clouded. But Reynor comes in from the top as well.
Serral's been using that time to try and amass his forces, but Reynor takes a commanding position here on the low ground. Serral coming back for the north. Reynor actually takes an amazing fight here.
I think Reynor might be doing it here. He's got 138 army supply, but he's moving up the ramp. Is this a crazy move? I have no idea. I think it is.
Oh,
but he's
it's
kind
so
of winning
crazy
out.
it might work, Ben. He's right on top of Serral. He's not giving him breathing room to make those Lurkers. The Vipers be damned. Reynor on top of Serral here. He's in the natural, and he's cut off the main in the third. The third is actually dead and buried. Oh, man. What a move from Reynor. What a play. Ties up the series 2 apiece.
That was so crazy. Reynor, the balls on this kid. I'm surprised he can even sit down, Maynard. That is insane.
It's like sitting on one of those rabbits that you bounce around on when you were a kid.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
Reynor. What plays? What plays?
And he was smiling after that one because he was in such a bad spot there. Like, that was incredibly bad. And, like, he moved in there. He had the Lurkers from the north, the Lurkers from the west side as well. And then Serral, he was like, holy crap. It's kind of like that moment in a movie, like Lord of the Rings, where the orcs are like, yeah, I'm firing arrows at you. When it's like they keep on charging, it's like, oh my God, he's coming.
They're dying in droves, but they don't care because they just, as long as they have enough to break your line and murder your fort, that's GG.
He showed no fear marching into Serral there, and you could tell Serral was not expecting that because until that moment, he was defending like a madman. He was also like being an aggressive, crazy dude with the Niduses, and it was all working. All it took was one moment for Reynor to go full mad scientist, and he just took it.
Certainly did. Damn. God, they are so closely matched, aren't they? They really are. What a final. We actually truly are blessed. The only person that's taken Serral the full distance here to Game 7 in a grand final from the WCS region. This is so sick.
I think it's the way that he does it as well. Like, you can see Serral, he's
He's
disappointed.
very frustrated with that game for sure.
Because Maynard, like, if you told me, like, who is winning this, I'd have been like, this is 90-10 for Serral. Like, there was only one way he could have lost that. And it wasn't necessarily, like, Serral being out of position or being bad. It was just Reynor. He did the craziest thing he could think of. He attacked with everything that he had.
Oh, let's get into game number 5. This one's heating up. It is all tied up in the top left with the massive plays. The Italian Zerg, 17 years old, but he plays like an absolute veteran. This is Gamer Origins, Reynor. And in the bottom right, he seemed to have made the plays there on Thunderbird. He had the advantages. They got snatched away from him, but this is a new map and a new chance to take the advantage. This is Ed's Esports' Serral.
And tonight they dance on King's Cove. This is also a larger map in the pool. It's kind of similar to Thunderbird in a way with the base setup, except there's 2 ramps into your bases, one at the third, one at the natural. You can break these rocks to make the gap a little bit bigger, but in general you tend to find a lot of Ling Bane play is very good on this map. Now, while it is huge, there's a lot of good spaces where you can get the Lings in, get the damage done, and I'm genuinely looking forward to see what Serral's going to do here, because so far, like, he went into the late game with a plan, an idea, and it was all working out. But Raynor, he does persist, and he throws out some crazy stuff, and it's so infuriating when it's like you're doing everything so right, and somehow you still lose the game.
Yeah, I can see the frustration in Serral's face as well, you brought up. He always, whenever he loses a map, Serral, you always see him when the production shows him on camera, he's talking to himself.
Yeah, he's muttering to himself and he's in pain. Although when I see him win sometimes, he looks exactly the same, you know. But here he looked visibly frustrated, which, it's never good to see him look like that, you know. But the thing is, regardless of how he looks, I've never known him to be a player that tilts or to let it truly affect his gameplay. He always does the best he can.
It's like he looks tilted, but once the game starts, it's all washed away.
Yeah, it's like Neeb as well for a while. Like,
yes,
I know he kind
definitely
of mutters to himself and shakes his hair and what have you, but always, whenever he plays, it's never affecting his gameplay. Oh, both of them keeping 2 drones on the gas, so that is very indicative of getting a Baneling nest, so we will probably see a little bit of that tango going down.
Yeah, just a pretty standard macro opening for the CVC.
Especially on this map. It's such a big map, which means that early link speed, you can't go for roaches to try and defend both your bases, otherwise you just end up losing your third. So you need the lings not only to find out what your opponent's doing, but also just to defend against the lings early on.
Indeed. And there's that Baneling nest you were talking about, all going down as planned here for both players. And it's one of those sort of lull in the action sort of areas for ZVZ where neither player is going to be poking each other too much. Of course, it is usually when they send a couple Lings out of the map to have a bit of a scout. Indy's showing us a dead dragon covered in gold for some reason, but there it is. Indy, of course, massive shout out to him as we have this little bit of time in the early stages of this game. He has been observing non-stop and doing a fantastic job. So love in chat land for all you guys watching out there for Indy, our marathon observer, been doing it all by himself.
We see some deviation already, by the way, Maynard. So Raynor going for a lot of drones, but Serral, he's having none of it. That is a lot of speedlings coming out of him.
That is quite a few. Looks like similar to New Repugnancy here. Serral just wanting to go for a lot of Lings with Banelings to try and pressure Raynor. Now, is it going to be a massive commitment? It's already a pretty big commitment. Or is he going to switch over into Roaches and upgrades as he did last time? Oh, there's the Banelings there of Raynor. Serral keeping an eye on things as you generally would at this point in the game, trying to trade 2 for 3 here. Doesn't quite get the connections.
Oh, so far that's good for Raynor. Like, he's the one that committed to the workers, so for now he has an economic lead, but Serral will not give up without a fight. 1 Ling for 1 Baneling, and that's a good trade.
Yeah, trades for both players there. Serral doing the standard Serral thing and breaking away a Ling into the main base of Raynor, getting a scout off.
No lair has started for Serral just yet. He's opting for the +1 range already. He's now starting to eke out quite a few more drones, but you can see that Raynor, he's getting his lair. He's the one getting the Roach Warren. He's getting the gases, and he's got a drone lead. Raynor, this is a successful start for him in game number 5.
Certainly. Going to be the first guy to drop the lair and the Roach Hammer. Serral going towards lair yet, and he is getting +1 range, which usually means Roach Warren. We haven't seen it just yet.
Just, if you make the Roach Warren as late as possible, that drone is just eking out a little bit of mineral every time. So I think he feels safe, especially given that he has map control. So I think that was just a choice of, okay, I need every little edge I can get out of every drone that I have.
The edges do matter. So we're going through that south, but denied this time. Those slippery Lings getting deflected by Raynor. Good job here in the natural, locking things down.
That's one thing Zergs have got way better at, by the way, like just infrastructure and blocking and such.
Yeah, walling off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very good.
And to say how differently both these guys approach this game, they are both evening out so hard here. Like, I think after these 4 drones and the 7 drones made by his opponent, they'll be on like pretty much the exact same drone count. Raynor definitely got a little bit of a lead. Overlord speed does start for Serral, so he's also going for that scouting option yet again.
Yeah. We haven't actually seen Overlord speed from Raynor just yet, so that's an extra 100 gas that Serral has to spend here. Raynor drops the Nidus Worm.
This could get dicey. Like, Raynor's actually going to be the one being the super aggressor in this game, it does look like. But it is spotted immediately by Serral. Oh, that scouting is so good. So clutch.
He just always manages to see what's up. It's hard to catch him unawares here.
These guys actually played on this map in these positions exactly, and Reynor was throwing up the Niduses in the main, outside the third, and doing everything that he could. So this is almost a glitch in the Matrix, Maynard.
Deja vu again, that Black Cat running past the same spot twice. We got those roaches on the high ground and also spine crawlers, and Reynor's going to be like, this attack is not looking super great here. And he's reinforcing it with that Nidus Worm, so he is going to try and make magic happen here. He does certainly have the bigger army than Serral, but we've seen how important these spine crawlers and the roach numbers of Serral can be. He's in vision of this Nidus Worm to the south. Reynor trying to pull Serral's army apart here.
Oh, and Reynor is pouncing. Still had a few Banelings that take out the spine crawler straight away.
He gets rid of one of them, the other one getting targeted down as well. But Serral using that time to engage the roaches directly of Reynor. The attempt in the main base surrounded by the Lings, and the Nidus Worm in the back of the third is going to get killed as well. Reynor using this opportunity to pick off a Ling on the high, or Queen on the high ground rather, and he's actually breaking this line of Serral, pushing him back a little bit.
Oh, he certainly is. That Queen, in its last breath, did transfuse a unit for Serral. Just trying to do everything he can to stay alive. Reynor eking out of supply lead here as well.
He certainly is. His army's bigger than Serral still, and he is planning damage, so he is knocking Serral back a little bit. But keep in mind that Serral still, after the dust settles, is up a handful of drones and is able to recover if given a moment.
I actually saw quite a few blue units of Reynor's go back home there, so I think he was running them across the map as opposed to reinforcing with a Nidus, which kind of slowed down this attack. That was a little bit of an error there. But Serral, he's feeling confident enough to start +2.
And he has the Ravager advantage as well. Able to drop a few more biles here for Reynor. Reynor certainly with a lot of roaches. Serral pouncing on top of this cluster of roaches to the south, trying to push back Reynor's force again with that high ground, and he looks like he's managed to do it one more time. Reynor reinforcing with that Nidus Worm. Now he's got the numbers again. Serral just continuing to amass his defenses, able to get a spine crawler up, thankfully, in that mineral line, which is definitely going to help him out. This has been quite a bit of pressure in the first few minutes of this game.
And after punching each other in the face so hard, they're both on 135 supply.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible. These guys are so darn good. But Reynor, he's kind of retreating. He did start +2 as well, so he's not falling behind in tech. And in fact, he did eke out a very slight drone advantage. We're back to square one.
He's going for a second Evo as well, so while Serral's just getting the one upgrade, and certainly +2 attack is the most important upgrade here for Roach battles. Oh, nice catcher of Overseer. You don't see that every day. Bang! Bang, and the Overseer's dead. You can get that Carapace upgrade, which does sort of, later on in the game, make the Roaches a little bit stronger in head-to-head battles. And Serral does see that extra Evo chamber.
He does, and what does he choose to do about it? Like, is he going to start his own Evo just to make sure that he doesn't fall behind in that regard? He starts Tunneling Claws. He also restarts Burrow. He did start Burrow earlier, as we recall, but he cancelled it just to eke out more Roaches against that all-in, so he really respected it and also made a lot of the right calls there with his economy.
The army supply has caught up a little bit here, and Reynor looks like he wants to fight, but Serral has that concave, so Reynor is definitely going to get pushed back for now.
The supplies are very close. Like, neither one of them can really eke out a huge advantage against the other here. Both trying to settle down with a 4th base, both around the same drone count. I'm a little bit worried for Serral if that +1 armor comes online, because then he's just fighting at a deficit. But I'm also worried for Serral because Tunneling Claws, nobody does it better than Serral.
That is true. I mean, everything. The dangerous thing is, though, if you break off those Roaches for that harassment, they're not here on the front line to defend. So it's choices that need to be made. The calls need to be made here. And Reynor switches his army around to the right-hand side here towards that ramp of the natural of Serral. Both players taking big trades here. Serral with that cluster of Roaches going to eat some biles, but he does still push forward confidently against Reynor's army.
But Serral's losing so much supply here.
Yeah, this fight's not going well at all.
That was a terrible spot to fight in, and Reynor, he was happy to take that. And now he's kind of going to go pounce on the 4th base. Serral has to retreat.
Oh, Biles down the Roach reinforcements as well. A massive advantage at the moment for Reynor. He's up 30 army supply, which is always dangerous. And +1 Carapace is not far away from finishing. So not only the bigger army, but the better upgraded army. Goes for the Nidus Worm in the main base. A bit of a pipe dream. That's not going to happen. But he might be able to just do it by just rolling up into Serral's face.
Yeah, and very soon he has the upgrade advantage as well, Maynard. He's got more army here. He's trying to end Serral right now. He doesn't want this to go on for any longer.
Serral's holding the line for now, but Reynor still has the numbers. He's going to do this in just sheer power, Ben. He's still pushing forward, has to micro back against those Biles. The Ravager count very, very similar here. Reynor's got the confidence. He's starting to start a step forward.
Serral, he's trying to hold on the best that he can, but he ate another Bile. His units are worse. He's got less of them. He's got less of an economy as well. His opponent has a 4th base. There is just too much Raynor right now.
There's no holding here, even for Serral. Surely Reina has every advantage. Oh, lovely Biles again, getting those roach reinforcements, those stacked up eggs, going down to the Biles. Serral's engagement not working out. He's pulled drones all the way from the natural here, but it's going to be in vain. Reina goes to 3-2 in this grand final and is finding himself on match point against the 5-time WCS champion. Is this the moment?
We've seen it before, Maynard. We've
have.
seen it before.
We have.
Reina has literally been in this position against Serral where he is 3-2 up, and we think all is lost for Serral. But Serral, he's surprisingly looking less frustrated after that loss. And after reviewing the replay, which he did just then, we kind of saw him exiting and such. I think maybe he's just looking for weaknesses or little things that he did wrong and things that he can adjust, but he still looks very composed there.
God, I would love this to be Game 7 again.
It's a good one already, isn't it?
It's been pretty damn good. Very action-packed ZVZ here between both players. We've seen a lot of different flavors of ZVZ as well. It's not been the same build and the same strats every game. Far from it. In fact, every single game's had a different strategy, had a different plan from each player. With Serral being aggressive in the first couple of games, going for that late game tier 3 split map style on Thunderbird with Reina coming out on top. And then that game, that was a bit more of a pure roach headbutt game right there with a bit of Nidus just for flavor.
And they both got to that point in very different ways. Like, Serral went for something a little bit aggressive early on, and it didn't really pay off. Reina kind of eked out a little bit of a lead there, put down the Nidus, didn't really get that much done, but that fight on the right-hand side, that was such a good position for Reina. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Serral took it.
Yeah, it's uncharacteristic for Serral to actually, to get overwhelmed in a fight like that. Like, he just seems to have that superpower to look at a fight, make a decision within milliseconds of whether or not he can win that fight, and usually be correct. But that one time he failed, Reina capitalized on it, and we are looking at this kid in the top left. One more time he's found himself on match point against Serral. Is this the moment, is this the map where he upsets this incredible streak? This is Gamer Origins, Reina! And in the bottom right, he certainly wants to keep that streak alive. He wants to continue to beat back Reina every time he gets this far. This is the finisher, the world champion, ENCE Esports' Serral!
It's so fun. Like, we've had such good European ZVZ rivals, like the days of Stefano against Nurcio, then Snoot joined the ranks, then you had the likes of Elazer, and then Serral came along, kind of swept them all away. But now, a new star does shine in Reina, and these guys duking out in pretty much every finals there is, everywhere they are. It's so wonderful to see.
Feels like a prophecy being fulfilled here, like Reina is meant to be the chosen one to end the reign of the king. But, you know, it ain't over yet. As long as he's got a second life, that's all he needs to come back. Like you mentioned, it's happened before in the grand finals. Reina found himself on match point, and then Serral fought back-to-back maps. And that Game 7, even from memory, so close. Could have gone either way. Serral just coming out on top in the end.
I know Serral's won quite a few tournaments where he just sweeps his opposition, but he's also won quite a few where he takes a lot of beating all the way, a bit like Rocky, you know? And every series that he's won in this bracket has been like 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. But Reina's truly, he's been the one. Like, if this was a best of 5, Reina would have technically already won. That's how good this kid is.
Absolutely. And if it was a best of 3, Serral would have won, so
That's true. That's why we do best of 7s over here.
We can do this all day.
That's why we do best of 7s over here in the finals of WCS.
I'm having a good time casting with you, Jim Muslim.
I love you, Maynard.
Wow. We got deep there.
Yeah, you're my Aussie bro, mate.
Damn.
Cyber Forest, though, like 6th game of the series. Serral, he can't make any more mistakes right now, which that's always a rough spot to be in, man. Like, you want to be able to get away with this, that. You want to be able to take risks and such, but he can't do that anymore. Or maybe he can. Maybe the risks just have to be super good and the payoff will be huge.
Certainly. Quicker third base here for Reina.
Moving further away with that Overlord initially as well, so I think it can escape. Both of them going on the hunt there, so if you aren't doing this in ZVZ right now on the ladder, you should be.
Yeah. I mean, take note here. Of course, the replays will be available shortly after this tournament. You want to see them for yourself and try and adopt these builds. Of course, you do need the mechanics to follow along, but chasing down Overlords and getting the first Overlord killed is always pretty massive in ZVZ. Usually slows down all the growth and all the game plan of your opponent in the early game.
Wow, so Serral, he's kind of opting for a very similar thing to the game before, where he gets a lot of Lings out, but he's getting a really fast +1 weapons here.
Yes, indeed. Roach Warren coming down for Reina, and there's that Lair. So Serral going to go for a 2-base committal here. Let's see how well it goes for him. He's trying to keep that Overlord pushed back. I think Reina might be seeing the edge of these Lings. Actually, the Lings might have threaded the needle there.
I think they might have done, actually, because it's still just drones in production. We get to see a little bit of Serral here, and he's darting away for that 3rd base, which is... Oh, wow, he actually cancelled it upon it being 99% completed. Like, he's really respecting this and has a full wall up now.
I think that's the right call there for Reina. I think he would have lost it otherwise. He doesn't really have the units to stand and fight these Lings toe-to-toe.
It's just a very surprising move, right? Like, because he went for the 3rd, he went for that, and it isn't like the most gigantic committal by Serral. Yes, it did cost him quite a bit, but he's actually going to have +1 range faster than Raynor as well. Does get to see the Lair. Now, that is a huge deal, and we get to see that Raynor's actually on 4 gases as well with all of this.
Yeah, it certainly is. And going to be powering ahead in that technology here is Reina as Serral starts to get roaches of his own. Oh, Reina's being a cheeky boy. He's going for the Spire in the backline here, showing off that he's going for roaches, but going for something a little bit more of a bamboozle. This is a strategy I've seen a few times. Funnily enough, on this map, actually, see it a few times where the Zerg gets their wall off, they show off that they're getting roach speed and +1 attack, and then they get a cheeky Spire in the backline. This could work for Reina.
It definitely could. Serral, upon hitting Lair, he's going to try and get an Overseer out immediately. He knows his opponent definitely has a Lair done, and he needs to get on top of what he's up against, because Raynor, he's doing a good job of producing just enough roaches that it doesn't really cost him his entire gas wall. He will be building that up, but Mutas, they will be scary. In fact, where is his Spire actually on the map?
It's in the back of the natural.
Oh, it's a decent spot. That Overseer will see it pretty darn late. But he'll see it, hopefully, because... Oh, Mutas, they can really catch you off guard. It means losing every Overlord on the map. It means the possibility of just having those Mutas march over to your base and take out all your drones. Luckily, I think he'll see it just before it's done.
With a Changeling? Oh, he just sees it there.
He sees it, Maynard. Okay, what is his response going to be?
Well, Serral starts more Queens here. It's a good start. And, of course, Spore Crawlers to make sure that the Mutas don't do a whole lot in your back line. And the Overlords of Serral are going to have to be pulled back. And he starts to move those Overlords back towards the infrastructure. You can see them in the middle of the map starting to move home.
So Raynor's done a really good job of eking out a drone lead, actually, despite having his 3rd base later, which is really cool for him. And Serral, he knows for sure what he's up against now, getting the more Queens. In fact, I hope he definitely saw that building. Okay, the Spore Crawlers do start, so yes, he does. He's going to have +2, done a little bit faster. He's getting Overlord speed as well, going to try and save some of his Overlords on the map. I do believe most of them are heading home as well. In fact, he did a really good job about that.
Yeah.
I see every little red dot just marching home.
Yeah, they certainly are heading home. The Lings of Serral looking for another opening here, but Reina meets them there with the Roaches and also the Mutalisk here. So Serral does have his defenses back at home. These Lings are still a threat for Reina, so he needs to kind of keep those Roaches at home for now. Serral also has his own Roach army pulling back, and those extra few Queens he produced as well, just to stand and fight these Mutas directly. Good stuff here from Serral.
Serral also, he's like feeling solid enough to still drone up amidst all of this. Obviously, more Roaches won't help, but he's also scouting very, very efficiently. Getting to see that Roaches are the weapon of choice, and there aren't going to be a huge flock of Mutas, so he's going to focus on Roaches himself.
A little worried once again
Ooh.
if we have a repeat of King's Cove where Reina has the double upgrades and Serral just has the one, where his Roaches end up being a little bit more powerful by just an upgrade there.
I'm a little surprised. Like, there aren't spores at these bases, so these Queens, they're having to do a lot of running, and they don't really want to be doing that. I know it's not a huge Muta committal, but that was definitely more damage than I thought they'd get done.
Serral's run by is being deflected very easily here by Reina. He is covering all of his bases literally and figuratively here. So the 4th base is on the way quite a bit earlier than Serral's, but Serral's going to go for the Hydra Den, which I actually like quite a bit. Not only does it help him against those Mutas, if the Mutas are going to stand and fight here, and defensively these Hydras are fantastic, but even in a straight engagement against the ground army of Reina, even though he has that Carapace upgrade a little bit earlier, if Reina wants to capitalize on that timing attack or something like that with these upgrades, the Hydras actually could make the difference, where even an upgrade down, Serral could burn through those Roach numbers.
If you're a Serral fan right now, you should be biting your nails, because make no mistake about it, he is definitely behind against Raynor right now. Those 5 Mutas, they forced out a lot of Queens that he didn't really want to make. They forced out Spores that he didn't want to make. He's now got an upgrade lead as well, and he's got a really big supply advantage.
Yeah.
I am so worried for Serral.
Oh, I think this is the best timing that Reina could have hoped for. He has the massive advantage right now. Serral needs to hold this 4th like his life depends on it, and his life certainly depends on it here in this final.
And Reynor's moving in here right now, Maynard, like Serral. He's got a good concave at the top of the ramp, but he's just got less.
He doesn't want to allow Reina room here, but Reina doesn't care. He might just push on through anyway. So the Biles come down for Serral. They are connecting a little bit with the Roaches. The Muta's also coming in, doing a little bit of harassment. Serral pulling in those Queens now. They aren't two-handing in a fight, but they can transfuse. But Reina's numbers are still just unquenchable.
Reynor's doing it, Maynard. He's doing it. He's got 50 supply more. He's going to pick off these drones
The
and
prophecy!
GG.
It's done! The king has been vanquished. The 5 WCS streak is over. Reina, the new WCS champion. Serral straight out of his chair to offer respect to our new champ. Reina been beaten back in the last couple series, but not this time.
And look at that, the cheeky chappy just smiling away. He's so happy to finally beat the wall that has beaten him so many times in the past.
What an absolute god. This kid's going to have a glorious career. Just 17 years of age, just able to earn the WCS or enter the WCS circuit last year, and he's already a champion in 2019. What a god. What an absolute star of StarCraft 2.
You can't help but love Reynor. Now he marches over to that trophy, Maynard.
Reynor, 17 years old. You have only been eligible to play in the WCS for 1 year. And in 1 year of playing, you're finally lifting this trophy. How does that feel?
I thought it was heavier, to be honest.
But Reynor, I mean, this victory is significant for so many reasons. I mean, not only are you a StarCraft 2 champion, you finally get that revenge on Serral. We need to talk about the history you two have, because 3 WCS eliminations. It was round of 16, round of 8 at Valencia, then it was Montreal Grand Finals, and then it was at the WCS Spring Semifinals, and finally, you get that revenge in the Grand Finals. I mean, does it taste sweet?
Yeah, it feels great. Like, I've been losing only to Serral so far in WCS, and it's not pretty. So yeah, it just feels amazing, you know, to win finally.
And in this series, it was an amazing showing by you. I need to ask about Thunderbird, because it looked like Serral had that map. He pretty much decimated your economy, and yet you still were able to bring it back. How were you able to do so?
I was giving up on that map. I tried the YOLO move. F2A move, and it worked. So yeah, quite happy about that map.
It did work indeed. And now you just said it yourself, that Serral was the only player that was able to stop you, and now you just took down that one player. So is there anyone else left that could potentially stop you this year?
Like, you never know, because I don't think I'm as consistent as Serral yet. So yeah, like, I hope to keep doing this, but yeah, I'm not sure. I hope so.
Any last words for all the fans that you have?
Thank you, guys. Ukraine is amazing. You're amazing. Thank you.
Once again, give it up for your WCS Summer Champion. It is Reynor!
As we see, Reina is able to take the victory here in WCS Summer. Serral has been dethroned. There will be no 6th in a row. Reina, the man who was only defeated by Serral throughout his entire WCS circuit history, has now been able to topple the Titan. What a victory for Reina. What a victory for this young man right here. The genius of Zerg, the prodigy of Zerg, has become a WCS champion. Joining me, Fear Dragon, Rotterdam. History has been made here as the streak of Serral is done and Reina is a champion.
Reina has proven that WCS winter was no fluke. He took a little bit of time with spring, but summer here, he has proven that he is in fact championship caliber in terms of his play.
Gotta love it, man. This kid is just so fun to watch. He's so energetic. Who would ever say on stage that he F2A moved his way to a WCS championship? But incredibly well done. I mean, there is absolutely nothing to dislike about Reina. And I think this is one for all the people say like, oh, it's boring, Serral always wins. This also goes to show how hard it is to win these tournaments, guys. Nothing is certain in StarCraft 2.
Yes.
Reina proved that here. Reina already proved that in winter. And I think obviously for Reina, it's the icing on the cake that the grand final was over Serral. I mean, that's the man you want to defeat in a grand final. Job well done, Reina.
It could not be any other way. I feel like Reina crashed his Leviathan into the Overmind and now has become the new Overmind for now. What a... It was almost... With his runs throughout WCS, it was almost destined that this would eventually happen for a kid like Reina. Just an amazing performance from him to be able to take this title in Kiev.
And I absolutely love the final words that Reina was saying. He didn't just end it on, oh, I won this and now I'm better than Serral. He said, no, I'm looking to become even better. I know the next step, and that is becoming a consistent champion. And I love it. He's already looking ahead.
Yeah, of course, Montreal, I mean, that happened last year, and that was a grand finals that really should have been Reina. If some of you guys weren't watching that one, Reina was up 3-2, and he was miles ahead in that 6th game. We all thought this is it. This is where that streak of circuit events finally ends. It didn't end. Serral had a remarkable comeback, and this time it was almost the other way around, even though it was only game 4, right? But it did feel like we often talk about momentum shifts and stuff like that. I mean, that was probably the biggest momentum shift you will ever see in a grand final, where Serral plays a magnificent game for, what was it, like 20 minutes straight, and clearly did play better for the majority of that game. It is Reina who just sneaks that victory in. He just walks up that ramp, grabs those, or he killed the Vipers actually. Serral makes one big mistake. Reina capitalizes on it, and instead of a 3-1 lead, suddenly it's 2-2. You could see Reina, he was all smiles after that. And Serral visibly very, very frustrated.
It was a massive, massive opportunity for Reina to take there in that 4th game, and he took it with both hands firmly. And as you mentioned, Rotterdam, just before, I think that it wouldn't have been better any other way. It had to be Serral in the finals. There was no other way this could happen. For Reina to become a WCS champion proper here at Summer, and he takes it. I'm shaking a little bit, Fear Dragon.
I'm shaking more than a little bit, and at this point, Reina is absolutely one of the youngest WCS champions we've had in recent times. It is so amazing to see. Sue was actually saying it on the stage, how much Reina has accomplished in 1 year of eligibility. In that first year, he was already making the finals at Montreal. In the second year, he takes down the undisputed champion, not just of the non-Korean scene, the winner of the last BlizzCon. It is amazing how much this kid has accomplished.
This opens up a lot of possibilities, I think.
Absolutely, and let's not forget, even though he was looking good already when it came to the WCS points, now Reina is officially qualified for the global finals at the end of the year, so that's obviously a very nice guarantee to have as well. I mean, I think it is truly beautiful, and I think, like, once again, this goes to show that nothing is certain. People are like, oh, it's boring, Serral always win. It is super, super impressive that Serral has won so freaking much, and let's not count him out, and let's never, ever start using the words washed up or anything like that, okay? Because you see that kind of stuff, and that's beyond ridiculous. But I think right now, all kudos to Reina. I mean, he did it. He did it. He said it on stage as well. He's like, I've only ever lost to Serral in these events, and that's why I think it's excellent extra nice for him to get the job done here in the
It's a
grand
huge
finals.
moment for StarCraft, and apparently for Fear Dragon's family, they were calling him just now.
They're
saying,
excited. I
believe
know
it.
that they want
Reyna's
to talk about this win right now.
Amazing, amazing stuff. And gentlemen, that has been WCS Summer here 2019. What a tournament, what a way to end everything here with Reyna dethroning Serral, of course, for now. All eyes on Reyna, though. We can give Serral all the kudos in the world. However, that has happened many a time. It's not Serral's moment. It is 100% Reyna's moment. And guys, what's been your standout? I guess it must be Reyna toppling the throne here.
I mean, I was talking about this in the pregame. It is the fact that in those situations, we saw that exactly what Roddy was saying. Serral was gaining all of these little edges here and there, and that is what Serral does. He is clutch. He is so consistent. That is what has allowed him to come back from these brinks of defeat time and time again. But this time, Reyna did not let it slip through his fingertips. He got that momentum, and then he held on to it. That is the thing that everyone has lacked, holding on to that momentum.
Final thoughts, Roddy?
What I also love is that Reyna had to dig deep for this overall victory. Not as in this grand finals, but let's not forget that round of 16 where young Reyna was down 0-2 against Nurchio. And I was watching that game 3 live, and he was actually kind of on the ropes in that one as well. He had a magnificent hold. If you guys didn't see enough ZVZ yet, take a look at that series, because obviously that's where he stayed alive. That's where he kept his tournament dreams alive. And I think last but not least, we often talk about rivalries, right? And obviously there was already a little bit of a rivalry, but the last 2 times it was 4-1 and 3-0 in favor of Serral. And it's not a rivalry if one guy pretty much always wins. Now, on 2 big occasions, Reyna has defeated Serral. This is a rivalry.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me here, and thank you very much to everybody tuning in around the world as well to witness StarCraft 2 history here as Serral has been toppled and Reyna stands atop the WCS Summer Mountain. Thank you very much to production and everybody in the back as well, all of our commentators here for WCS Summer. That does it for us here. This opens up everything for 2019 as we have a new champion of the WCS circuit. We shall see you for very much more in a few moments' time. Of course, we've got Nation Wars coming up. We've got WCS Montreal coming up. Don't forget as well, you have the opportunity to catch the replays right after. They're going to be posted on Twitter right after this is all finished. And also check out StarCraft Esports YouTube, as you'll be able to check out some of the first-person views with Tobii eye tracking from a lot of the games that have been played here for WCS Summer as a whole. That's it. That's everything. Congratulations to our new WCS champion. We shall see you next time.